You gotta kind of consider Skyline the favorite here. A couple of former LCS players, a couple of known names. It's a strong group of people.
Yeah, even with the Eve nerfs, NK Inc. also is able to draw the Eve ban very early on. He kind of was the trailblazer for Eve in the LCS. He played so much of it back in Season 3. It's even more potent now in the 2014 season, so I can see why it's a pretty important ban for a TNT to get down.
Yeah, they got rid of it, although it's still surprising to see her not really played that much in top tier. Like,
yeah, I know.
It's weird. It's one of those champions you're like, yeah, she's going to do really well. We see some teams run it because, like, AD Assassins mid are back, kind of, in a lot of ways. Like, there's a lot. You're seeing Kha'Zix again. You're seeing Yasuo. Zed's still getting played. It's like, you need AP damage somewhere.
Well, surprisingly, actually, I think in the highest tier of play, Eve's kind of really difficulty of seeing her with the vision system is diminished a bit. The reason I think she's so annoying or successful in, like, mid to high tier play is it used to be that you could just kind of pink ward to avoid Eve. Now people don't think you can because she'll just kill the pink ward and then go at you. But in, like, tourney level play, they are good enough to get wards all the way into the jungle, so they see Eve while she's not invisible, and they're also much better communicating with each other and guessing and knowing where Eve is based on cooldowns of jungle camps and all these other really complex things to keep in your head, which you can't even do up until Plat, up until Diamond. It's really difficult, but in pro level play, you generally can.
Where's the smart ping for she was here 30 seconds ago?
Yeah, it's in your mind.
It is in my mind. It's over voice comms, and I'm like, by the way, Evelyn was at Wolves. She's probably bottom side of the map now. Well, of course, picks and bans have gone through the Elise, the Shyvana, the Kayle. A bunch of great picks here for Tint, but Skyline, they've gotten the Kha'Zix again for Golden Glue. Now, last time we played the champion, you know, again, against that LoL Pro team where he won, he went 9-2-6.
Nice.
So, yeah, pretty good performance.
Do you know what he was playing against? Because playing against Kayle as Kha'Zix is not a very easy matchup.
No.
I know that Kayle should be able to shove him in fairly early, and even later can shut down his burst fairly successfully as long as he doesn't get in a really isolated situation where he can get queued over and over again.
Yeah, so we'll see if he can make this situation happen or not. Leap in and out of the slows, we'll see. Skyline, though, still putting together the same comp as last time, the Rumble. They also played before, and this was actually something I really wanted to know about, because maybe I'm just wrong here, I don't play very good top lane, but I feel like Rumble would have a really hard time against the super tanky bruisers, because they'll just run at you through the flame spitter, and you've got to run away, not doing any damage at all. And you've got an obvious Shyvana top lane here against Rumble, and they're like, yeah, Rumble's fine. I
think it's the same reason that Vladimir would have some weaknesses.
Right.
I believe Rumble can survive against Shyvana mainly because having, as silly as it sounds, 2 Electro Harpoons to keep him back, and because Shyvana's move speed is not long enough to go that much over the slow field. He should be able to keep his distance. Against a Mundo, I think he'd be much worse.
Okay.
But I think against Shyvana, it can work. And I also like this for the Skyline team composition as well, because Rumble will hopefully have enough upfront damage that people are low for Golden Glue. Very few top laners nowadays can get kind of team-wide that many people low to let Golden Glue potentially get some resets.
And that to me was always, I felt, a requirement for Kha'Zix teams. Now, if you're Gambit and Alex Sitch, you don't care and you play whatever you want because you're that good. But generally speaking, I've seen the only teams that worked well with Kha'Zix were ones that had that upfront damage, that had the Rumbles, that had maybe a Gragas somewhere.
Absolutely.
Even like Evelyn, but just something to start the fight out, get them low to enable the resets. And that seemed to work out. Yeah,
and TNT, obviously, with their team composition, they have a little bit of resetting with Jinx, but mainly they're just a high damage team. I think Shyvana is one of the only tanks in that one, and that's generally pretty good pickings for Kha'Zix. If you're running a one-tank team, Kha'Zix can oftentimes just jump through that unless the tank gets really out of control.
Yeah, how well do you think we can see like Kayle blocking that? Because he's got to all in at some point. Like, you're not just going to void spike poke and be like, I got to reset, right? Like, at some point he's going to go in, and how well can the Kayle block that? Block the Q, all the damage, he comes in, has no reset, dies.
I know.
Potentially.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun little minigame to see.
That's a really high-skill minigame they're going to have to try and play. Even when Zed was a thing, it was rather difficult for Kales to block it properly.
That seems weird to me.
I know. Well, it's because he dive in, but that's the crazy thing with Zed is he just does so much damage even before his ult. Like, you can just throw out a clone and hit him, and he's down to half, and you're like, well, I didn't kill ult that. Like, you could kill out the death mark, but there was so much AoE damage that oftentimes you'd hold it on like too late into a fight.
I can see that.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with sustained damage too. Like, against the Deathmark for sure it's good, but it's not an easy thing to use. Kale's got to be one of the most difficult champions in the game to play.
She's a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
I recommend
Do
all
you
that
play
fun
Kale?
stuff. I do. I love Kale. She's one of my favorite mid laners.
Did you know?
I
I want you to give me one.
Did you know you pretty much one-shot people with QE Lichbane?
Okay, that I didn't know. I've seen that happen a few times. We were watching was it a Challenger game yesterday? And there was a late game team fight. We're like, oh, it might turn. We're like, where did the Jinx go? And we're
Flash
like,
QE.
Oh, Kale just flash QE'd it.
Yeah. All right. Did you know the only spell she has with a cast animation is her Q?
True.
No, her W. No, you can move W. Yeah. The only spell that cast animation is her Q. Everything else is instant cast.
We mentioned this the other day, but did you know she's one of 2 champions whose ranged auto attack can hit through the wind wall because there's no projectile?
Yeah, her and Thresh, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Did you know the best time to ult SKL against Zed is actually when he starts the ulti, not just the Deathmark at the end? Because they will almost always burst through and do all of that, and if you block the damage, then you're fine. Did you know the splash damage from her E does not work with Hurricane? The splash is on attack when she swings, not when she hits something. So she only gets one splash.
And it's a melee attack, isn't it?
No, she becomes ranged.
Oh, okay.
She's technically ranged, so she's you stop getting Ravenous Hydra. She will actually become ranged and melee based on form, like Jace, like Elise, like Nidalee. So you only splash on attack, which is only once, and then you have the just slightly higher bonus damage on the target you chose, which will go to everything, which will work 3 times. So you do get like a decent amount of bonus damage, but you don't splash 3 times.
Yeah, she's pretty good in like shred compositions back when people were really trying to stack armor pen and magic pen as well.
Yeah.
It's often a very forgotten thing about Kale since she has so much burst damage that she actually shreds you over time by putting up Holy Fervor stacks, I think is the name of it.
If that's still the name. I don't actually remember anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know her passive changed a couple times.
The shred thingy.
Yeah, the shred thingy. Her passive. We're good. That's how we actually do it officially as casters here. Did you know, let's see. Did you know in Season 2 she was played as an AD top laner by people like Dyrus?
Yes, they used to go double Dorans oftentimes to an Infinity Edge and a Phantom Dancer. They turn into a double AD carry.
Yes.
And then it was actually Soul Crush, one of our many designers, who was like, why isn't Kale building AP all the time? I'm just going to buffer ratios. 0.2 to 0.4 on E won't do much, will it? And we're like, all right, go for it.
Yeah.
And it did.
But the funny thing was the build there was Liandry's. It was like the main build was Liandry's Kale because did you know? E is one of the very few, like, I'm trying to think about how to describe it right, but it's like a repeatable attack thing that actually triggers like on spell effects.
Repeatable attack thing.
Well, so for example, like Teemo's Toxic Shot doesn't spell vamp, doesn't apply Rylays.
Right. It's like a special cased spell.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't. There's nothing special there. So, but Kale, her E will trigger things like Rylays and Liandry's and whatnot, and that was initially the big build before Lichbane Nashor's Tooth became the big thing. Because it would work. It would also apply Lizard Elder. Now, guys, as the teams load into the Rift, let's take a moment and look at how these teams got there, starting with TINT Gaming.
Yeah, so TINT Gaming, who I'm going to probably call TNT, they beat a team called Jet Fuel on Friday in a 48-minute slugfest, so very close game. The top laner Drill had a huge game on Renekton, but it was actually the play of their AD carry, Evan RL, that carried them to victory. He was 9-0-6 on Caitlyn, which is impressive in a game that long, Freak.
Yeah, it really is. Not dying as AD carries, sometimes a very difficult thing to do. Of course, on the other side of the Rift tonight is Skyline, a team with a couple of familiar names on the roster.
Yeah, so Skyline actually pulled off an upset on Friday when they took out the former Curse mid laner Nyjackie's team, which was LOLPro. Skyline was the 15 seed, while LOLPro was the 6 seed. Nyjackie wasn't the only former pro in that game, actually. Skyline has a couple former members of Velocity Esports on their roster. NK Inc., the jungler for Velocity, as we were talking about, drew the Eve ban early. He was in last summer. And, of course, Evaniscus, or if I was willing to scream how Kobe called him, Evaniscus! Really loudly, is from Velocity as well. He had a couple good games last split.
And if your ears didn't die, then our microphones are really high quality.
I just did a quiet scream.
Oh, I just go all out all the time.
All right.
I'm actually sad about this. So I actually like Evaniscus, like as a player and as a person. I've talked to him a few times. But my only like big memory of him in LCS was like the horrific. I was gonna say horrifying, then it said horrific, so it just sounded bad.
I just remember him dying a whole bunch. Is that what you're gonna say?
A really bad Lissandra game. I think it was the first Lissandra we saw in NA. Had a really rough game, like 0-8 or something, like really saddening.
So when Evaniscus did badly, he did really badly in the LCS. Like, he had his couple good games. I really liked it when Velocity Esports ran a lot of those, like, double AD, Janna mid type compositions. Like, he felt pretty at home in those teams. But when he was on Zyra or something and he started dying,
He used die a lot.
He died
more.
a lot.
That just kind of happened with supports back then. I mean, it still does, I guess, a little bit here, but when your core champions don't have, like, escapes or hard CC and where you're like, I'm Zyra or Lissandra, I am very squishy and have to go in to do things. Like, I just remember, like, how many times Zyra would die to Ahri in the World Championship games. She would just see her at some point and would die to Spirit Rush.
It was really sad. It's like it was a DFG, and then Ahri just stood next to him, and he died.
You press your non-skill shot buttons to make sure you can't possibly fail. And the champion fell over. She turned into leaves. But here we go, guys. Skyline and TINT Gaming back. Well, not back, but now on the Rift here. Best of one winner plays the Walking Zed next Saturday in the top 8 on their way towards the LCS. We'll see. These guys can do it. Right now, Ezreal just taunting, saying that Jinx belongs in a museum. But I feel like she'd rather blow one up than walk into one.
She would.
Yeah.
Yep.
You belong in a museum.
Man, he really wants her to know about this.
I got to say, though, I'm pretty excited to see the Rumble Kha'Zix synergy. It's been a while since we've seen Rumble in the top lane. I think the last one was Balls in the Battle of the Atlantic. We'll see how well Jezzy can do. I think it's definitely going to be worth watching whether his Electro Harpoon can keep Shyvana at bay and whether he gets trained down like frequently or not.
Yeah.
Because if he can farm up and become a strong Rumble, the synergy between him and Golden Glue's Kha'Zix is going to be really high.
It's true. It's going to be a really easy comp. And you even have Jarvan there just to lock him in place for a bit more fire. You've got Ezreal to fire across the top. So there's actually a good amount of synergy. Like, 4 members of Skyline are there kind of, at least in part, to make Kha'Zix work. TINT moving in, though, for the jungle. Looks like a 3-on-2 here. And, yeah, Skyline's got to give it up. And
Yeah, good delayed invade.
Yeah, I like how late it was because Inkake was like ready to go for the red buff and is like, still hasn't even started his jungle yet, and the red buff's already taken.
Now he's got to run all the way back across the other side of the map, and it's a kind of a late developing lane swap as well. They're going to 1v2 Rumble.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is much worse now than it was maybe 6 months or so ago. A nerf that used to happen to him is a 10 damage got taken off of his Electro Harpoon.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem all that consequential, but we were talking about last hitting under turret and the difficulties you have by yourself. It took it under the threshold to last hit the range minion with 1 shot. So 1v2ing his Rumble is really difficult now if he wants to get farm. He means he has to tag it with his Flame Spitter and then get Electro Harpoons down on it.
One of the hardest things, by the way, is last hitting a minion with a Flame Spitter because the damage ticks are so low on minions.
Yep.
Like, I mean, getting the first hit and then Eing afterwards, sure. Okay, Skyline, though, this is good. They got the 2v1 lane bottom, and so they rotated down to their enemy's red buff, and they got that successfully. So the late invade didn't really hurt Skyline that much. Now, guys, we got a quick pause. We're gonna get ourselves back into the game in a second, but we've just seen the early jungle developments. Despite a really clever late invade by TINT, ultimately nothing special happening to the junglers.
Yeah, I don't think much is going on. I am interested to seeing how the Jarvan jungle fares, because we saw so much of it, and then really the nerfs to its width on the flag toss combo really just got rid of his play. It's very easy to miss that now. It's just, I want to say it's like actually playing lawn darts.
It's actually jukeable.
Yeah.
To me,
it's really hard to land.
To me, as a guy who lanes more than I play jungle, I just like, oh, it's actually dodgeable now. This is nice. And I'm just like smugly happy about this. It's like, oh, I have counterplay. How sweet.
It's interesting, though, because you see the Jarvan in the game and you're like, oh, it can dodge it, but you just don't see the Jarvan in the game anymore because people don't like missing it.
Yeah.
If he's good enough to land these skills, though, it's still the same old Jarvan. He's still got the same damage. He still bursts crazy hard, and his ganks are incredibly potent.
You know, even after the ganks, I saw him a couple times. I would literally see, like, top-tier junglers. Actually, hold on. Jezzy getting dived, only level 2. Likely to go down, and the turret aggro drop. Nice play by Mimo on Elise. 1-0 already for TINT.
Well, 1v2 Rumble. Turns very quickly into 1v3 Rumble, and look out.
Wow. Kale.
Where was he going? We must have missed a little bit of that action while we were paying attention to the 3-man in the top lane, but I would have to think that he was trying to escape a gank through there because he was pushed up in the lane.
Yeah.
Not that he was trying to rotate to the top lane. That is the most likely explanation.
I mean, everyone burning their flashes for that one. 3 summoners for 1. Definitely a hardcore chase at the end of all that. So 1 for 1 on this one. But to continue the Jarvan point I was making, so after the nerfs, I would occasionally see like very top tier junglers would flash W because they
to slow it down.
Right, to slow them down, because they knew that if they flash, they could still catch with the EQ, and then they would EQ long to catch the flash. So there we go. Taishi getting jumped on, and he has to run to the left.
Yeah, it's because NK came down from the bottom side, and then he flashed, EQ'd, and forced a flash. But that's why the chase was a little bit longer. NK Inc. does get the red buff proc on. And I actually agree with you on Jarvan plays there. You too often see Jarvan's just like not getting into auto attack range first, especially when you have a red buff. It's oftentimes worth it to just flash and hit him once.
Yep.
Especially as Udyr in the jungle, if you have a red buff, a lot of people will, like, since you're going to catch him anyway with Bear, they think, oh, I'll just run up to him and force the flash, and then I'll flash after. But it's actually better to point-blank flash into them and get the Bear stun, because the slow plus the stun duration will allow you to catch him afterwards anyways.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you get the early
I find it's
damage.
more effective, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At the very least, you trade flashes, which you're going to do anyway, and at best, you get a kill.
Nice. I like the upside there. Kale, oh no, Taishi, you're in the wrong spot. Goes upwards, not much going to matter. A Wild Throws nearby, lands one of the stuns, but the Volatile Spiderling, oh my gosh, he actually lived and couldn't chase. No cooldowns left.
We were just talking about the flag toss combo. That was a really poor flag toss combo by NK Inc. He threw it like 3 feet in front of him and then dashed to it. It was like a slow motion dash, and he didn't even get the knockup onto Tashi there. Obviously, they stopped chasing because Elise was there for the very late counter gank, but a little bit of time wasted and a nice escape.
Oh, well played then by Kale, making that one happen. Last thing in a turret, Drill only got one of them at the end there. Slightly late attack the one before that. It's okay, we'll forgive him. But this 2v1 lane down here, so we saw the dive initially work there on the top lane, but they all recalled. They didn't stay for the turret, so none of these turrets have yet fallen. Meanwhile, Drill stuck in this 2v1, and his turret's not dying all that fast yet. This one's going down, though. Yeah,
I think it's because there's been a whole bunch of a wild Mimo in that top lane. First got the kill on a Jezzy. Second was able to finish off the turret. So TINT will want to try and rotate those lanes around, and there's a outside chance they make it back to this bottom lane before the turret falls. That would mean the world to them, but it's going to be a tough move.
It's going to be hard. Looks like Jinx Lulu will be there for the next wave, but this one without a cannon. We'll see if it does enough damage here. Okay, Taishi getting rid of some of his minions, and this is close. Last minion is going down. Not that much damage left in the turret. They got their dual lane back.
Plus, they got a BF sword now to a Doran's Blade. So when Jinx arrives back in that lane against Impactful, which, by the way, some people say isn't a word. I disagree.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I've seen it on some online dictionaries, but not on others. And it depends what reference you want to use.
I've always been a proponent of English is whatever language you want it to be.
Okay.
Yeah, the same way that, like, LOL is something that people say now.
And selfie? Word of the year.
Selfie is, unfortunately, a word. But
it's okay.
It exists as
YOLO.
well.
I mean, YOLO's an acronym, but still.
According to our writer, Merriam-Webster does say that impactful is a word. So whoever told me that impactful wasn't a word is not true. We just about had a pause there, but
just kidding.
Luckily, we didn't have to.
No pause at all. There are no bears in this game whatsoever. None of these champions would have pause, actually. I don't think Yordles count. I feel like they don't have pause.
What about like a Kha'Zix before he grew up? If he wasn't Mecha Kha'Zix, would those be considered pause?
I mean, does a praying mantis like ever have pause, or are they always like sweet freaking scythe arms?
They're kind of scythe arms.
Yeah. Rainbow Scyther, by the way, is the unofficial name.
Oh no, dude, Rumble. He's a furry little guy. He's got pause.
Yordles have pause. I asked that. Do Yordles have pause?
Rumble better have pause.
Why? He's a Yordle.
Otherwise, got a severe hair problem.
I mean, you could just be a furry dude. Mountain men, all of them. All Yordles are
There's
actually...
a difference between being a little hairy and having hair all over your face, freak.
It's a really long mustache and really long bangs.
Yes. It's just a ridiculously low hairline. You never guess it.
Really big eyebrows, maybe?
Bushy eyebrows right there. Anyways, it's a pretty big lead here for TINT Gaming. And I actually have a question that you're going to probably be able to answer for me. Is the blue side team always the higher seed in these up until the point?
They get choice.
They get choice. Okay.
So the way it works is we actually assume players want blue side. Historically, teams always tend to ask for blue side. And so it's like, if you don't say anything, we'll assume that you wanted blue. And so it just keeps things going. But like, for example, in the World Championships, like SKT and Royal both asked for red.
A lot of times they do for picks and bans.
Yeah, every once in a while. So some of these guys do ask for red. I believe this was a standard TINT ask for blue here. I'm also actually not entirely certain on the ruling. We do have a pause real quick, so we'll talk about this. I actually don't remember. I need to look up the rule of how seeding works. Like, if you get an upset win, like, do you take over their seed? Like, the spot on the bracket is always higher seeded, or if you have to upset everyone, you're just like, well, I'm still lowest seed the entire way through.
Yeah, we'll get the word on that. I'm
Probably
sure.
the latter is my guess.
That the I don't
If
think
you
it
came
would,
in as
I don't
number
think it would
22.
dynamically reseed. I think it would just be a bracket style, so teams have more time to prepare.
Yeah,
that was definitely the logic for seeding at Worlds when they were seeded in from the group stage. It was a full bracket through.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, So game started out a little bit of a gold lead here for TINT. Good sort of turret play so far. They've gotten their own turret here. We're going to get the game on pause about 20 seconds. That's the word we're hearing, so no big deal. We are playing on a delay from the game itself.
Yep.
And then it lets us do cool things like this. We never see a pause screen.
Yeah.
We can lie to you about stuff.
We get to talk for like 6 minutes before game starts.
Yeah. We also know when it's going to end. And so we can be like,
I don't know when it's going to end. They don't tell us when it's going to end.
He's told me.
You are a little cheater.
I'm not doing the analysis. I'm like, I think this might be a game-winning push.
No, there's not going to be a fight.
I like spectate my other computer and be like, I really think they're going to go for a 3-on-1 dive because of, I think it's going to work.
How does he always know?
I'm just really good. That's the secret to the crystal ball. We actually not time-lapse. Everything's actually slightly in the past. The games are played like a day beforehand.
Starting theories for you.
It's not true.
Starting theories. Dangerous theories.
Tin foil hats, guys.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. TINT up in the mid lane. You've got Taishi still, despite getting ganked a whole heck of a lot of times, he's still pushing up that lane a decent amount. He's down in minions, but, like, he's not flinching from that lane.
No, not in the slightest. I mean, Golden Glue has done exceedingly well against Kale so far in this one. It's a tough lane matchup, Kaz against Kale, but NK Inc. has given him the ganks when it really matters, and it's allowed him to pull up a CS advantage. He's going to want to get that Ravenous Hydra as quickly as possible. We got to see Kaz a couple times in the North American LCS to very varying success rates.
Yeah, we really have TINT, though, in control over this dragon right there. Looks like they're getting their first, but it's what looks like a 5v5 if they show up here. Slow and Evaniscus pull onto Evan RL. The play as well. Rumblety comes across the flash away. Who's going to go down first? A lot of damage on Evaniscus. The chase still in. Kale goes down first. Looks like a big fight here for Skyline. They've picked up 2 so far, cutting backwards. Evaniscus not going to land the play, but TINT on the run now. Jezzy gets his spells back up. Going to land the slows onto Evan RL. Jezzy picks up the first kill. Looks like that was a pretty amazing fight. 3 for 0. They lost the dragon, but they got themselves right back there in gold. Got another quick game pause for you guys, but
SKL wrecked that fight.
Oh, yeah.
Just now. The Rumble Ultimate placement was exquisite in that one. It got everyone low, and then there was a really nice push-pull, I think, by NK Inc.'s Jarvan being in and out in that fight, really utilizing that flag toss to its best abilities.
That's actually one of the cool things about what Jarvan can do is when you go in for the knockup, 2 really minor things. So one, you never want to W immediately because they're still in the air. You'll lose slow duration, right? EQ, hit them, pop the shield a little bit late for extra slow, but also then because you have a shield and they are slowed, that same move that you talked about where you can walk back and get out there, right, and get out of range is much easier to do because they can't follow you in the first place. And I know some junglers, I know Meteor started talking about this by the end of Season 3. He's like, I started maxing shield second, and that's crazy. Like, max rank shield in a full team fight's like over 400 points.
As far as just being tanky, since a lot of the jungles, Jarvans are just exceedingly just meat shields.
Yeah, their job is to be tanky. And you do get 3% attack speed for your team per rank in the flag toss, but the cooldown doesn't go down. The damage goes up, okay, sure, but like you don't get that much per rank up. And he's like, oh, at level 13, I have 400 bonus health and a bigger slow. That's great for us.
And he's just about got his first big jungle item, too. Not a huge amount of farm, but definitely outpacing a Wild Mimo. NK Inc. spent much less time 3-man pushing lanes and much more time farming. So even though they're down 2 turrets, they're almost caught up in gold, which means there's a lot of unclaimed gold on that map for Skyline if they can get any type of push going now that they've shown they can win some of these fights.
Definitely can right here. We're still waiting on the Kazakhs to really go mental in this one. He went 2-0-1 in the last fight, has the Tiamat, has the Vamp Scepter, so Hydra's not far apart, but we've seen some good starts to these fights overall. Yeah, Tiamat making that pretty easy to clear for these guys. And just to keep you guys up to date, the Kazakhs did evolve his Q. This is what he's maxing as well. We've seen different builds. I've seen evolve the Spike Racks for wave clear. I've seen even maxing Spike Racks as well for wave clear. But it's all Assassin right now.
It's pretty rare that we'll see the W. It's occasionally done nowadays, although it's a very cool explosion particle. It's a bit of a shame we don't get to see it more often from these guys. I think just the assassination potential from the Q and then the reset potential from the E is an absolute must.
Oh, yeah.
That by the end of the game, they want the third stealth, so you very rarely get to see the W.
It's too bad. It's a fun one still. Does have more slow, so I feel like you really need poke, or you really need just, I don't know, somehow some more extra catch potential over everything else.
Yeah.
I don't imagine you'd never not evolve Q though at the end of the game just because the damage is there, but
people didn't used to evolve Q.
That's true, actually. You're right.
W is a big thing.
But I guess the W evolve was enough damage boost. The Rumble ulti coming across. Mimo not super happy with that one. Clipped by the Ezreal, but no one's going to go in on that one. Just forcing a couple of retreats there as Elise goes back to the jungle to farm.
Well, with Equalizer down now, there's a little potential if Shyvana wanted to engage, but actually Jojo comes in from the side instead of the back. If they catch a Cocoon, I think they would have been in. They just didn't quite get it. If we look at these teams overall, there's very low amounts of initiation from TINT. Unless they land a Cocoon, they don't really have much.
They're basically relying on like late game rockets from Jinx and Lichbane Kayle proc to like push turrets down, or to hope to just have enough stats they can just run at you and hope what Shyvana Lulu does enough to start a fight.
Well, they were very much a fast push comp early on in the game, and it's kind of slowed down. They got the first 2 turrets, but now they've stalled out a little bit. You can see Golden Glue just scaring Evan RL away from that turret.
But then leave him to go and grab the rest of the minions, but that does make it the first turret of the game here for Skyline. And one of the things that I've found really interesting in the 2014 season is the fact that turrets have, at least the first 2 tiers, have local gold and global gold. And what I've seen some teams do is they'll get close to the turret kill and the support will leave to funnel more of that local gold to the AD carry.
Yeah, it's pretty smart.
Share it otherwise.
Because otherwise it's shared amongst the people that have hit it or are in range of it. One thing you shouldn't do, and I've done it far too many times, is leave the turret alive for the minis to finish it and just run away, because then you miss out on the local gold.
Yeah.
You feel like an idiot afterwards, which I've done a lot.
150 for the outer ring. And actually I've seen games where I'm like, I feel like they should let the turret die, even though they give 500 total global gold around.
Well, like a team should let the turret die to minions, almost like just a full deny.
Yeah, like, still if you get 500, but you deny 150 eventually.
Yeah, because you know the turret's going to go down anyway. At that point, you're just hoping that you don't help someone on their team hit a big item.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, gold doesn't mean anything until you spend it, which is oftentimes forgotten in these games. You can see like this game is dead even, 20.4 to 20.4, but I guarantee you one team has more gold than items because some teams haven't shopped. I mean, just looking at it now, Skyline has way better completed items. It's a Ravenous Hydra, plus the Haunting guys on the, well, maybe it's just the Ravenous Hydra. I was just comparing the mid laners. Everyone else is pretty even if you compare like a Cutlass to now a Leandries. You know, those are big ticket items, and they don't see the same big ticket items on the other side.
And then you've got just to make it even more confusing, you've got a Sightstone done on one side. That's for Tint's support. So that's gold not spent and lost on wards, at least not as much.
I see 2 Sightstones.
Oh, there was, sorry.
Did he just buy it?
Just bought it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, he was actually without one for a short time. Evan has had his for a while. But then I looked down and saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, that was the guy I was talking about, and just kind of face-palmed to that one. But yeah, very equal gold right here. Looks like the teams are kind of going back to their side lanes. And we'll see who makes the next play right here. I feel like the mid laners aren't so crazy powerful that they're just going to like make awesome, crazy roam plays. But that is probably more on the junglers to catch someone out. It's
interesting how both the mid laners have just kind of turned into side laners, and the mid has become where everyone's grouping up their people. I think the big part of this is middle turret's most important for the fast push teams, and because of the lane swapping that happened, the side lanes fell very quickly. So now the battlefield is this big old mid lane, and the teams are not letting it go away because they know how much importance it holds.
Yeah, TINT actually, the only outer turret they even have left is the mid turret. Interesting stat, by the way. So top and bottom outer turrets are most likely to, like, are on average the fastest turrets to fall, and then the mid lane outer turret is next. But then of tier 2 turrets, mid lane is actually the most likely turret to fall first. Because typically, and this is my theory on it, once you've gotten the outer mid turret, that's probably because you want to fight for that turret and you get 2 off of it.
And you just go straight up the mid lane because it's generally closest. Whether you win a lane
it's
on
like
either side of the jungle,
there.
you can just run straight up the mid lane.
Yeah. And so you tend to get both when you kill mid turret. And the next ones follow. And that continues the rest of the way through. Mid lane inhibitor also usually the first one to fall.
Really, people just have a deep-seated need to play ARAM. And when the game gets like 20 minutes in, they just group mid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually how it works. There we go, guys. Skyline picking up the dragon, though. Not a very hard one for them. They just kind of got there and no one really contested it. TINT losing a lot of their pressure right now. It seems like they're waiting for KO to catch up. You talked about Golden Glue having the Hydra done to like not even close to Nashor's Tooth yet for Teishi. And that seems to be a really big point here where it's like, all right, Kale, we're going to wait for you to catch up, and Jinx will hold mid in the meantime.
Kale has a lot of catching up to do as well. Not even a Stinger. You usually see Kale go Stinger first item, but Tashi decided to go Fiendish Kodak because you probably want to heal a little bit more. This is that ARAM need we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, they've still got at least Jesse up in the top lane split pushing. Someone's got to defend that because the minions are going to reach that turret soon. But no one... There we go. Okay, Shyvana's going on the way. Drill needs to show up to defend that top lane, but it's going to be a bit late. He'll lose some of the minions to the turret up there. And NK Inc. No, never mind. Blue buff's not up right now, but it feels like Skyline's now the team that has the better map awareness, the map vision, and play calling.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to start controlling the jungle. They've got wards over the blue buff. They already got the dragon for free, basically. Or, like, without any contest, I should say. They obviously
Nothing is free in League of Legends.
Nope.
It's something we've...
Except trinkets.
Really started to talk about. But even that...
Opportunity cost.
It's an opportunity cost of a different trinket. If you
That's
get a
why
Baron
we don't see blues.
That no one was contested, it's because you snuck it. Or because you had vision control of the area. Because you smited it away. You get a dragon, it's because you scared him out of the area. Get a turret, it's because you spent tireless amounts of time just chipping away at it. Everything in League of Legends is earned.
Yeah. And to speak to your Baron point, actually, there's actually huge opportunity cost in actually taking Baron. Doublelift could have been taking Wraiths right then.
Think of all the gold.
Think of all those 4 gold Wraiths Doublelift could have killed every time his team goes for Baron. So much on the table.
They are really grouping in this mid lane, though. Another thing that's happening is since there's just such low initiation potential from TINT.
Yeah.
Like the Shyvana coming in from the side is pretty much all they had. So as soon as SKL was saying, well, I guess I'm going to back up a little bit, then there's nothing TNT can say about it unless, while Mimo lands a cocoon, we're not seeing a fight. And if SKL doesn't want to fight,
not gonna.
That's going to be the decider.
Yeah. And, you know, to think about this, like, remember the CLG curse game? Whoop! Oh, he got it!
Nice shot.
You could say that was an impactful ultimate.
It was, because he got blue buff.
Yes, it was.
I completely agree. Oh, that's his name, too. No.
Kha'Zix is an unseen threat. But he's seen right now, so it doesn't work anymore.
In the top lane.
Evan is just stealing minions. I saw that. He's got 13 now, which is actually also losing potential gold because that means his ancient coin isn't proccing.
Yep.
Such a waste.
Nice hook. Are they going to go? No, because it was Elise. It would have been too dangerous to go in under the turret right there.
You'd never follow a spider into her web.
It does seem like Skyline is definitely chipping away at TINT, and it's kind of becoming a bit of a desperation right there for him.
Drill's trying, but runs out of health rather quickly. Ooh, good flash. Golden Glue. Runs to the side.
I'm surprised he didn't just flash Q right under the turret to try and execute him, knowing that Flash was already down. I think it would have killed him, but instead he's just going to try and lifesteal up on the wave to make it safer, because their goal is the turrets.
Well, turret does remove isolation, though, if you're close enough. Ooh, bit of miscommunication. Mimo just going to go back in there, picks a whole bunch of ultis, but repels at the same time.
And Golden Glue is around the back right now. Unless TNT backs away, there's no kill ultimate to stop him this time on Kha'Zix. The next wave could very well be the turrets.
This could be rough. Kha'Zix still waiting. I think he gets spotted on the way over, but he's just waiting on the side. Skyline ready to push in. They've got a numbers lead as well. It's going to be a 5 versus 4. At the very least, mid lane turret does go down. Let's see if they can get another one here. Pull is on. Uh-oh, Lulu, you're not in a good spot. You do have flash, though. Ez ult, they're going to live.
Still successful.
Yeah.
They've claimed the gold. Uh-oh. What are you doing?
I think he wanted to be tricky and then failed.
Yeah, and then he took half his health and damage.
Lantern's
maybe
on cooldown
more
right now, too. Ooh, the re-engage there from the Rumble ulti, baiting the team in a little bit. Ultis are mostly down, and here comes a fight on in. Taishi has nowhere to go and no way to turn invisible. Impactful jumps in and picks that one up, thanks to his blue buff in part. Evan Arello still on the fight, has to run away.
Cheeky little Ezreal able to bait the team in. That's the old look like you're in the shop so the other team chases you a little while. I can't believe that worked for Skyline. That is a backbreaker right there for TNT.
That's pretty great. You know, you lack an engage, but you can always bait them in. You know, actually talking to, I know...
well, it's weird because Skyline's the team that has the engage. That's how they're able to turn it.
Yeah.
Because they said, like, they fell far enough away from their base, and now they just decided to fight them.
It's a tarp. Trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. And it was. Well done by Skyline here. It's actually funny. We talked to Cloud9 on the desk here. It was their win over CLG. He said, yeah, we were using elimination as bait, but we underestimated Annie's damage, so he died instead of actually baiting a
like
fight.
Multiple times.
Yeah, like 4 times. And then I kind of wondered, like, so in games with support has a lot of deaths, how much of those are like, oh, it was bait? And how much of that was actually true and just said as the reason after the fact?
Well, if you're trying to save face, all of them.
All of them were on purpose.
Yeah.
But even still, it still means you misjudged their damage.
It's true. But it sounds better that way.
It does. Just blame the jungler. If Meteos were there sooner, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Which is true, actually.
Always. But yeah, actually, no. But you're right.
You could say that about anything, though. So you're like, you know, we would have won that fight if it was 6v5. You're like, well, you're probably correct. That's just an impossible scenario, though.
Not for Yorick players. Or even Annie, in a way, if you count it. I don't know if Thibers counts as a full 1.
No, definitely not. Mordekaiser, maybe, if he gets a ghost.
6v4.
And at that point, it's 6v4, so absolutely. And that's a real scenario, so you're correct.
Yes.
We're learning. You can have real scenarios for excuses, but not made-up ones.
Oh, right. So, you know, if Warwick had a wit's end in this game,
then it would be... then SKL would... No, TNT would be at their wit's end.
Yeah. Such a good joke, freak. I'm amazing. All right, here we go. Skyline looking to flank around. This is not too good for TINT. Let's see if these guys can go in on this one. The Rumble ulti actually doesn't land on much. And wow, the flash is to dodge the hook as well. TINT still on the run. They have a turret to run to, actually. The box slows some down.
Yeah, but Kale is split pushing on the other side, so that disengage by TNT was actually pretty key. Taishi just now getting a little bit of damage down with that Nashor's Tooth. And TNT's going to want to stick around and distract SKL as long as possible for this one without actually getting a fight because they want time for Kale. Or they're just going to dive in.
4v4. Lulu ult knocks up every single one. Jinx gets excited. The dive is here. Oh my god. NK Inc., you knocked in your own team. He got himself and his friend killed. Only Impactful's going to survive. 3 for 0, and Kale gets away from the Kha'Zix defense.
So the one big initiation they could have is Shyvana plus Lulu for the big dive, and they pulled it off just now. Again, it doesn't really matter if they hook the Elise because there's no follow-up potential, and Shyvana gets the knock-up on everybody because Lulu got it right there. And yes, as the Flay hit, the Jarvan ult also did, and that's a bad place for NK Inc. and Evaniscus to get trapped in. The reason they were able to initiate right there is Golden Glue had just went back and they decided to go for the 4v4 right after the 5v4 had stopped.
And you got to consider, when the mid laner who was 2-0-1 had the highest CS in the game by like 60 backs, that's a big loss in power. Skyline.
Huge amount of gold just left that team.
Yep, and that's why just looking at the gold doesn't always matter. It's the gold and where it is and who has spent it and what they've got because of it. And that gold just went down the drain right there. So TINT really back in this game. 1,000 gold apart between these teams. Kale really catching up a bit here. Still hasn't upgraded boots, but is on the way towards, I'm guessing, the Lich Bane.
Gotta be.
Well, we did see one player, it was Challenger actually last night, Nashor's Deathcap Void Staff. No Lich Bane until the 4th item.
Still probably pretty successful, I imagine.
Oh yeah, very strong, but just a different look for it. Less bursty. It was ironically the more auto attack focused build because you have a high ratio for the constant swings.
Yeah, the reason I think that Taishi is going to go for a Lich Bane here is they just found their first seed of success doing a split push. And the Lich Bane will become a bigger threat for that situation.
Oh, absolutely, but unfortunately, he's not in a good spot. Gets hooked as well. A lot of burst on him, but there's the ulti. Baits in Kha'Zix a little bit.
Oh,
but
no.
Look at that combo. 1 has gone down. It's going to be more. 2 have fallen, and there are the resets. 3 so far. NK Inc. even gets out safely. Can the chase continue? Only 2 members left for TINT.
That was just a fantastic catch. This time they comboed the Cataclysm with the Equalizer. Check this out. Ankit goes over the wall. Doesn't matter if he doesn't get a knock-up. He was just getting himself in position. And it was the Thresh death sentence that baited out the Kale ult. And then that flash wasn't actually that beneficial because it just grouped everybody up for Skyline's combination. Golden Glue got on top of all the damage, was able to get some resets, and was able to eat it. But now it's about the steal. Can they get it?
No, Mimo is a little bit too late. Not quite dominant tier. Picked up by Kha'Zix as well. 3-0 and 4, proving he is the superior bug here.
Whew, that's a risky one.
Yeah.
Such a risky Baron. They opted into the 50-50, especially when it's a best of one. Doing something like that. They are the ones that dictate the team fights, so they didn't actually need to rush that Baron, but since they won and got the 3 kills, they thought they could take it, and they were able to get the smite. So props to them, but that is a dangerous, dangerous call.
Dangerous choice. It does pay out, thankfully, for the Skyline fans out there. 5,000 gold now puts them ahead, and that's pretty nice for these guys. They're going to have to go back and buy soon to put that cash actually to work for them. Instead of you working for money, you want your money to work for you. Heard that one a lot. Skyline going for that motto right here.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I would say that's more of like a gold per 10 item strategy.
That's true.
Yeah. Generally, your money does always work for you if you buy items.
Sure. Unless you miss all your skill shots and you bought a bunch of AP. Then it wouldn't really do anything for you.
No, it wouldn't.
In this case, though, guys tend to be hitting their skill shots, so I can't be too sad. Impactful going for, we've been seeing this build more and more from Ezreal, actually. Trinity Force, Ruin King.
The maximum amount of mobility. It's just playing more off of Ezreal's strengths, which is sometimes slipperiness. Trinity Force gives him move speed. If anyone ever gets close, gets even more move speed by using the Blade of the Ruin King on a tank that approaches him. It lowers him in straight-up dueling potential, but it makes him as annoying as possible. It's probably not as annoying as the blue build for the enemy to play against, but it's more damage and faster. The blue build's all about slowing the enemy down. This one's about just Ezreal being quick.
Definitely going to be quick here. It has a plenty front line to hide behind as well. Looks like bottom lane turret's going to be going down safely here for Skyline. That's going to be number 4 here. Actually still behind the turrets, interestingly enough, but TINT hasn't found their footing in a little while here.
No, 0-4-0 on Taishi is not exactly what they want. You can see the Ezreal just flew out in the top lane to clear that, which tells me that SKL wants an extended siege moment here. I'm a little surprised they haven't used Golden Glue as a solo split pusher more. That's generally what I've seen other teams to get a farm Kha'Zix going are, but that's a nice hook on a Kale.
Wow, half health from a bunch of different sources. No all-in, just half gone, just from that.
Still doesn't have too much ability power, 208, so his heal isn't super huge. He's recalling immediately. If the next minion wave can get there in time, then they're going to be able to get some damage down. Kale just now in the base and coming back out of it. Let's see if SKL can make something happen. Kale's really close.
Yeah, Stork Shoes, Lichbane, and the heal for movement speed. We'll see if it's enough to get him back here. Turret starting to take damage here. Impactful, proccing the Trinity Force sometimes for some bonus damage. That's going to go down right there. TINT losing another of their structures, making it 5-5. And now both teams' respective sort of far side, outer second tier turrets, the only ones left standing on that group. Easy Dragon as well for Skyline on the way back out. There's not much left for TINT to recover for right now without winning a fight.
Skyline could have been way sneakier going through that Dragon. You saw 3 of them jump over. I was like, oh, but the whole team could have. Because Thresh could have hooked over and thrown the Lantern for Rumble. And literally all 5 of them could hop the wall.
That'd be fun.
Like a freight train.
Yes. Just similar to that. Train. Missing a Heck Room, though.
Yep.
Fine, here we go. Skyline back in to the mid lane. Why the heck not? Get rid of the minions. Still no one's showing up top. They're just letting the minions accrue there and slowly push down to create pressure a bit later. Taishi getting whatever farm he can. Only level 13, though. Mind you, his lane opponent during the beginning of the game, Golden Glue, 17. Gigantic level lead between Kha'Zix and Kale. He would just destroy anyone.
It's all the split pushing Golden Glue's been doing. He has so much solo XP, and even though Taishi has split pushed a little bit, he's been trapped babysitting the team for quite some time.
And you've seen what that does to his levels right now. I always wonder if you get in these games if it's worth buying Ancient Coin on everyone, because it'll actually be worth like 10 extra gold per minion. Like, I feel like there's a world where that works. I don't know.
I've been trying to figure out weird strategies to break the game. Haven't gotten to test them yet.
Dual Targon at the beginning of the season.
I want to run a bunch of tanks in Soraka. I want to run like a double support lane like Soraka Sona, and then run 3 tanks. solo laners and jungle, and just like move into people. Because it's an underestimated thing, you know, how magic, resist, and armor scale very well with healing, because the heal is the same amount, but the more armor and MR you get, the more damage they have to deal to you. So you stack as many tanks as possible with as many heals as possible, and it multiplies on itself.
True. I
feel like there's something there.
I kind of agree. I think there's definitely potential there. I actually fought a Sona team in One For All, and the W's stacked. So they've all got.
Dear Lord.
I think they did anyway, because I saw a lot of buffs on their buff bars, and so they all have like 70 bonus armor MR or something silly, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of hard to kill.
Absolutely.
And they all heal for 200 apiece and target what? It's the lowest health nearby by percent health.
The lowest, yeah.
Lowest percent
and
health
yourself.
Nearby champion plus you, yeah. So they'd all heal the same guy. Then you would get the bonus like 6 armor MR from being targeted by the heal. And life was just painful.
Damn.
I was Ash, you had to spike him out with arrows and stuns.
Skyline's doing a pretty good job pushing these turrets around, though. TNT is not able to follow them, and they have a huge minion wave here, so clearing it is very difficult. And we may see them get a whole bunch of turret damage here.
See if they can get it. This one's down to half right now, but they're backing off, giving a decent amount of room for TINT to push stuff away. You've got Static Shiv plus 2 more items on Jinx, so he does kill minions fast. We'll see if they're safe enough otherwise. Gonna do some more ward sweeping. Looks like actually with Baron in 40 seconds, Skyline might take the time to prep that fully. You got a couple guys looking to recall, a couple guys putting wards down. Looks like Skyline are happy to take some time and just go objectives.
Yeah, they're completely fine taking their time with this one. They know it's the best of one. They made their rush move by sneaking the Baron, well, not sneaking the Baron, by trading a Baron 50-50 and just trusting NKing smite ability. Now it's time to play a little more conservative. You don't want to flip a coin too many times.
At some points you hit tails.
Unless you call tails, in which case, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting for the next Baron. There's no reason for them to stick around and turret dive when they can just get the Baron to come up again, considering TNT has no control in the area. They can sweep out any wards they see them place. They probably know that that's the deepest ward that the entire team has there, and they're just going to maybe play around this corner and try to catch people.
Well, they caught Wild Nemo, knocked him there. Goodbye! He is dead. Drill forced to run, and the chase is on. There's the equalizer combo. He's going to get flashed out of, though. Drill still on the run away. SKL looking for more.
Nice flash.
Jumps in onto Evan RL. One more. Ooh, you going to go for it. The damage is there. Yeah, there you go. Golden Glue picking him up. Good by Evan RL. 2 kills for none. Now Skyline could backdoor turret. They could go Baron.
Yeah, Golden Glue flashed over the zap there in order to get more damage. And they're actually opting, instead of trying to take the turret 5v3, to just go and take the Dragon, the Baron 5v0, as long as they can burst it down, and then think of diving later on in the game. This is actually a call I generally agree with, even though most people always say to get the inhibitor first. I like the Baron as long as you have someone tanky on your team, and they do an NK in.
This looks pretty safe ultimately. No globals are available, and the Elise is not nearby. Skyline gets Baron Nashor at 35-15 into the game. And I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. So Skyline.
Was it about Baron?
It might have been so I remember thinking about a story about the coin flip, but I think it was something else, but I forgot. Oh, yes, it was Golden Glue picked up a pink ward dropper. I very rarely see that trinket upgrade, but he upgraded his warding totem into the one that drops pink wards on a 3-minute cooldown.
Why would he do something like that?
Because, so my thought is he didn't want the 3-minute cooldown to go for a lens, but he still wanted a ward sweep. And pink wards just are good. He's also basically got no item slots left, and he wanted to continue to be able to ward for his team.
And his team probably wants pink wards.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the big thing. Yeah, I think it's probably a pretty smart move. If I had to think of what type of trinkets I would want on like an endgame team, I would want and a winning endgame team. I would actually want a couple sweepers and a couple pink wards just to mix up.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to do split pushing like this, because that, you throw a pink ward in the mid lane, you get to catch people running back and forth. Plus, as much as you want to sweep Baron Nashor, it's nice to just have a pink ward there all the time.
Yeah, the teams that I see doing Baron right now at the top tier is a pink ward inside the pit that will see all wards in there. You put it in enough.
In the pit
enough that you will see the entire ring.
Especially the ones in the corner, around the front of the Baron pit. Those ones are really dangerous to miss.
Then they use a sweeper sort of near the front or in the brush, or a pink ward in that brush, the little tiny brush in the river, to make sure that the general route in wards are covered, and that's usually enough that they're fine. No one seems to ward like the top side by the lane. It's harder to get there. There's just less wards on that side.
I gotta say, Evaniscus has landed a lot of clutch death sentences this game. Their siege plan is pretty much just like wait for Evaniscus to hook someone, do a bunch of damage, and then take a turret.
Well, it looks like this turret is going to be going down. One more attack impact puts that one up. Double knock up from NK Inc. There's a flay back as well, and an equalizer is beautiful. Golden Glue picks up one already. The rest of his team likely to be falling. NK Inc. does die, but who cares? SKL doing a wonderful job this fight. 2 for 1. Inhibitor is theirs as well. They still got the Baron buff, but they got no minions to do much else with.
See, that's generally why I like the Baron buff over the Inhibitor sometimes, when you have confidence that you can pull off a dive like that, because they had such strong initiation potential. So they got the Baron, and then they got the Inhibitor right after because they had the power of the Baron buff. Nicely executed dive there by the entire Skyline team. Even if NK Inc. died, they got more kills, and they got what they came for.
Yeah, and NK Inc. knows his job. He knows there's plenty of damage on his team, so he goes for the tankiest build possible, right? Ancient Golem, Ninja Tabby, Randu and Zoman, Spirit Visage just wants to be there in the front lines. Golden Glue caught out, but I feel like he's safe here. Mimo will get the white, but that's not a big deal. Another Dragon. Skyline playing this by the book pretty much, right? Take your frontliner, engage fights well, and they're getting every neutral objective they can.
Yeah, they got about a minute left on their Baron buff too. So if they go really quickly, they could do another turret dive. The turret's not going to be as low as the previous one, so they might not think it's a good idea. But I think it's a great idea. I think they should just wait for the equalizer to come up. Yeah. It's going to be up a little bit before the Baron buff expires, and they would be able to dive. They have the wave there right now. They just need the team to all meet up there, and they can go on the wave that NK Inc. is coming up with.
Here we go. This is the wave they get the chance with. And actually, Golden Glue uses a side split pusher.
Exactly, and this is even better because now that one inhibitor is down, he can actually come in behind the team. They had some trouble actually getting on to the right targets last time. This time they won't have that issue.
Well, here we go. Turret taking a little bit of punishment. Hook's not going to land this time. Golden Glue still on the side. And that turret goes down to half on the first wave, but Baron's going to time out for the next.
Yeah, I think they should have stayed in. And that's what they're doing. They're coming back in, getting the rest of the damage.
Good amount of shields there. Thresh helping the team. Of course, Jarvan and Rumble able to shield themselves. Inhibitor now under siege. Golden Glue still pulling attention on the side. Inhibitor goes down. That is number 2. And there is a giant wave coming down to the bottom of the map as well, if they don't want to go for the Nexus yet.
We could see a very last-ditch effort by TINT here, knowing that the Baron buff is down and knowing they're already down 2 inhibitors. This could be their last chance of actually getting some type of fight turnaround if they get the opportunity while this turret is being sieged.
Well, here they go. Kha'Zix off to the side. The whole team down here in front of the inhib. Box comes up, but that doesn't land on anything. Wanted to catch Drill, doesn't do it. This turret down dangerously low. That's going to fall as well. All 9 outer turrets are gone. Beautiful equalizer. Great Rumble ulti. Great Jarvan ulti. A lot of health bars dropping. TINT. First one goes down. That's one picked up. Impactful. Forced to run back. Golden Glue low as well, but has a Guardian Angel. He's going to be safe so far. A lot of ultis burned from TINT as well. Very few comeback mechanics left. Kayle ulti onto herself. That's going to be Jinx falling over. Golden Glue diving in to deal some damage. Popping his GA. Drill in the middle of the enemy team. Jezzy dropped low as well. Does Kayle have the damage?
Still.
Zhonya's Hourglass keeping Jezzy up there and pulls a Lantern. No one on Skyline is dropping. 5 versus 2, 16-5 overall score. Now the kill onto Teishi. Yeah, he's going down. Very well played by Skyline. A controlled battle. Nexus falls down. They will be playing next week.
Yeah, and at the very end of that, despite all the chaos, nobody on Skyline went down. A very controlled victory, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I think they really just realized that TINT could not initiate on them, and they played by the book.
Yeah.
Almost the entire time. I do think the Baron steal, or sorry, not the Baron steal, the Baron take when they had a 50-50 smite against Elise was probably the biggest turning point. But aside from that, they played solid.
Well, one done by these guys coming back from a bit of an early game deficit. But of course, now that the play-in round of the Challenger Series is in our match history, let's take a look at the fully filled out North American bracket. On the top half of this bracket, the Walking Zed will play Skyline in the first quarterfinal showdown in a best-of-3.
Yeah, the second quarterfinal matchup features the Chinese powerhouse LMQ taking on YSO Esports on January 26th.
In the bottom half of the bracket, Determined Gaming will take on Curse Academy on February 1st, while Cognitive Gaming will face off against VVV Gaming White on February 2nd. And while that's it for the week's league action,